Some people are wanting to try their luck maybe elsewhere in Europe, maybe go to Canada, maybe try to go to the United States. The wealthier types are headed to places like Dubai, the UAE. I have to wonder how many, though, are headed eastward, to the Far East, to try their luck there. And some interesting videos. Here's one in particular, fairly short one, only 15 minutes, from Dave Trippin. I believe he lives in Japan, and he talks about why being poor in Japan is better than being rich in the West. Let's take a look at this. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hey, how you doing? Good, I hope. Today I'm going to talk about why is it better to be poor living in Japan than rich living in America. So I'll start it off. I think this is a good way to convey the point. I will pay my rent very, very soon. I live in a roughly 5-year-old home, and it's beautiful. It's spacious. Let's
see, 35,000 yen. That's half the total rent. Total rent is 70,000 yen. Let's look that up. Current exchange rates. Where's my currency converter? So 35,000 yen translates to $224 US, so at about 169 pounds. Casey the Goonette, thank you for the follow. That's quite the name you've got there. Hi, hello. So total rent that he's paying by the month, 70,000 yen, works out to $448 US, at about 338 pounds. 69. Nice.
I say it's new. It's in a really nice neighborhood. You can see the sort of beautiful gardens that are around me here.
This
I
is
love
lovely.
This place. I get internet included with that, and we're talking like lightning fast internet.
Damn straight.
Access to amenities that are nearby. It's a great home, and it's very affordable. It's $350. So, and that's in yen. So I would say in US it's like $240, $250. You know, forgive my math to get it exactly right. So what I would disclose as well at the beginning of the video, where we still go into details why I think this still holds true, is to acknowledge the other side of the coin, which is that wages have stagnated in Japan. So you could hear people talking about in previous videos that I've made, if you come at it from the teaching perspective, that back in the 90s, people were getting paid the same amount of yen that they get paid now for...
Not really much has changed. So yeah, plan on going over to Japan to teach English or do some other job or whatever. Don't expect to get rich doing it.
Working the same job. But what I want to focus in on, like I say, is this X factor is the cost of living. So in the one example that I have for you, and I think that that's one that hits home real well for people, it's the cost of rent. That's one thing. When I talk about people in Canada,
factor.
If you were to live in Vancouver, famously expensive, you could look at a studio apartment for like $2,000.
That's if you can even find a studio apartment.
If not that, you're living with a ton of roommates. You're also living in very old apartments where it may smell like cat urine. There's also the element I'll get into a bit later. There's safety. We'll go into that in more detail.
Yeah, Vancouver, not exactly the safest place anymore.
Why I think it's good to be poor here rather than to be rich in North America. But that's kind of like setting the basis, is just that huge difference in rent. While acknowledging that wages have stagnated in Japan, everything is so affordable by comparison that even were the wages to stagnate as they have, because these other factors haven't run out of control, it makes it a really viable option for a lot of people if they're feeling cornered, if they don't feel like they have a lot of options and they simply cannot pay the astronomical cost of living elsewhere.
Yeah, and make no mistake, inflation has impacted the entire world. Japan has not been insulated from that. There have been price increases on everything, even food items at convenies. That being said, it's still manageable.
In North America, and as I understand, like the UK is very expensive as well. Lots of places are struggling with this cost of living. So let's just break it down, all the different parts of this cost of living and how they get created or, like, let's say, converted into cost for you. So I think a good one to follow up with would be, let's say, basic amenities, and let's talk about health. Let's talk about, and what is health composed of? It's going to be what you're eating. That's huge, obviously. And then there's going to be your access to things that make you healthy, like healthcare, and also going to the gym. So food's a great one for a number of reasons. Food is just more affordable in Japan. If, like, I see videos all the time now, and I don't think they're exaggerated, talking about how if you went out for fast food in North America, it used to be this cheap option. You could go out, get your, I don't know, your Happy Meal, your whatever, and it would cost you like $8 to $12. Whereas now you could go to McDonald's, you could go to, I don't know, Chick-fil-A, wherever it is you're going to go, and it's going to cost you an exorbitant amount of money. And no longer are even these what used to be cheap, affordable options affordable anymore.
Yeah, some places like McDonald's, Wendy's in America, I mean, I'm on the road quite a bit for my work, so occasionally stop in for a little bit of fast food, just because I think if I eat snack crackers or anything like that one more time, I'm going to go mad. Yeah, just, a simple meal from someplace like, Mackey's or Wendy's or even Arby's, for example. Yeah, it really easy to spend $20, $25, depending on what part of the country I'm in at the time. So the inflation on food prices in America, it's noticeable. It is palatable.
So that's gone way up. Whereas in Japan, you could go to a place like these beef bowl places, like a Yoshinoya, something like that. And it would probably cost you about 500 yen, so about $5. You get a nice little beef bowl, you get a little miso soup. They have unlimited green tea that you could have if you'd like. You just go up and fill up your cup there. And that's like, I'm setting the bar here at like low, just going out for...
That's $5 on the low end, and you get all of that. That's a pretty hearty meal. Beef bowl with rice, it's filling, and you're still getting some protein, and you also get to wash it down with green tea, and you also get some miso soup on the side. You're doing all right if you're only having to spend $5 US on that. And I mean, well, think of all of the hotel in Japan tour videos we've watched and reacted to on stream previously. And, think of like everything from the dinners or just the all-you-can-eat buffet breakfasts. Usually, I'm just trying to recall what little I can. Pardon my streamer brain here. But in most cases, it's like 2,000 yen or less. So, present exchange rates, 2,000 yen, that works out to about $12 US, or about £9.67. Oh, there we go again. 6, 7. But yeah, and access to an all-you-can-eat buffet for breakfast or maybe lunch or dinner in Japan, 2,000 yen, and at present exchange rates, less than a tenner. You're doing all right for yourself at that rate, especially for all-you-can-eat. And it's not the crap slop that you'd see in a lot of all-you-can-eat buffet places. It's actually quality food made from quality ingredients, but is the same as beans on toast. In many cases, better. I would dare say better.
A cheap meal, let alone if you were actually to make this food for yourself at home, it can be so inexpensive to eat in Japan. So that's huge. Like, other than your rent.
Blasphemy. I don't know. Have you seen some of the meals on offer? I would suggest, if you haven't, go check out the YouTube page. Let me post a link in chat for everyone. There you have it. Go subscribe to the YouTube page. Watch some of our reacts to places like reacting to some of the sukiyaki travel vids or travel geek videos and just some of the absolutely delicious food you can get over in Japan. It's not beans on toast, but I dare say in many respects, it's even better.
Where do we spend money? We spend a lot of it on food, so that's huge. Not to mention, and this is something I truly love in the country, is that there is no tipping where there, what does the Japanese say? Like, you cannot put a price on good service. And where I'm used to getting absolutely killed when I go back to North America, like, I like being able to have some way to express additional gratitude to someone if they've done a really good job. But then it's this weird sort of relationship that you get where it's like, is it honest anymore if you know that this person's working only as a result to get a good tip from you, rather than they get paid enough and then you have this, let's say, pure relationship with each other because you know that it's not because they might be trying to extract any more value out of you. So there's no tipping. Generally, the cost of food is so much lower.
Yeah, absolutely no tipping in Japan. I think I saw, there was a tweet from Matthias Schmidt. He said, "Witnessed something incredible at the Amsterdam train station yesterday. Fat and loud American tourist was trying to buy a water bottle for €4, threw a €5 bill on the counter and started walking away. And he said in his typical annoying Californian accent, 'Keep the change, man.' Cashier responded, 'We don't do tips here. This is in America.' The American tried to leave again, but luckily security blocked the exit and said, 'Oi, you didn't get your receipt for tax purposes.' 'What?' Store manager appeared with a form. 'Did you attempt to give our cashier extra money? That's unreported income. He has to declare it now. Pay social contributions. Becomes, X amount after tax.' The American was baffled. He said, it's like, bro, in the US, workers beg for tips because they're underpaid. Here, we pay living wages." The manager swiftly interrupted him with that. They made him take back his change and quickly filed an incident report for an attempted tax circumvention. And that's supposed to be what a properly functioning society looks like.
And then if you even wanted to go out and eat, then that's super affordable too. Like, it's unbelievable. Minus the cost of tipping.
And quite commonplace, especially if you have a smaller, like a studio flat. You more than likely don't have a proper kitchen for cooking. So eating out is going to be something you probably do a bit more frequently in Japan.
Generally, how much less expensive things are, it's so much better, truly. Like, I live in the, let's say, suburban semi-countryside in Ibaraki, famously the least desirable prefecture. But again, that makes the cost of living even lower. And you would not believe what you find out here. Like, I go to these soba restaurants. Everything is like handmade teizukuri, and it's the best food you've ever had in your life. I'm thinking how much it would cost in North America, like $80 to eat this. It's all specialty, and your lunch costs you like $15 for this extraordinary food. So let's move on, though. I wanted to, that's like one place I wanted to talk about. It matters so much, obviously, our food and our rent. But then, in addition to that, I was saying other health elements. So I walk to my gym. It's about a 24-minute walk. My gym costs me about 3,000 yen per month. And to give you a kind of sense of scale there, again, that
3,000 yen a month, but a gym membership works out to just under $20 US, but about £14.51. That is really cheap. I'm not even sure you can get a membership with like Planet Fitness for that low anymore. Then again, he said it takes him 24 minutes to walk from his house to the gym. I mean, that to me sounds like a workout all by itself. And that's the thing, walkability is a big thing in Japan. Most people don't own cars. They usually walk, or they ride a bicycle, or they just take public transport, some combination thereof. I mean, I would think that would be enough of a workout in and of itself, being on your feet for a portion of the day. I would think that would be enough to keep yourself in relatively good shape, but I don't know. Maybe he wants to buff his gains, or however you put it.
it's less than, it's like $22 or something per month. 24-hour gym, excellent equipment. This is probably it's a feature of the fact that the workout culture isn't so evolved here. Like, you can still get gold gyms and stuff like that, but because it is less popular, it's more affordable. And then let's just talk about things like your health. So I know this is a big red button issue for a lot of people in North America, as well it should be. Health matters. I have American friends, when I hear about them going in for, what is it, like an MRI or a CT scan, and they talk about the cost of it being thousands of dollars to be able to do this. And
Oh, yeah.
here in Japan, you can get that scheduled and pay less than $50 for it, no waiting. Great facility, very, attentive, good doctors. And so the actual act of looking after your health.
It's what happens when you have a system properly set up to take care of its people, and when you also don't have to contend with things like mass migration. It means that you can actually have nice things, like a proper healthcare system, where an MRI or a CT scan only costs you $50, where eyewear and eye exams are just so dirt cheap that people frequently swap out frames and glasses almost like Pokemon cards in a deck they built.
Health. Well, you're not going to be a really rich person. You got this, like, your salary's nothing. You can make sure that you're healthy. And you know that famous expression, like, those who are healthy have a million problems. Those who do not have their health have one problem. So the fact that you can have that looked after in Japan in such a reasonable way, to me, is a huge, huge factor in deciding where might be the better place to live. And importantly, dental is also included with that. So it's not like you get healthcare for one thing and you have healthcare for another and it's separate. If you have paid for your healthcare, look at how beautiful these flowers are. Isn't this nice? Beautiful neighborhood.
Gorgeous.
If you've paid for your healthcare, as well you should, they won't renew your work visa if you don't, then you're going to be completely covered. And that's just excellent in my
Yeah, that's another thing, especially in the US. They have, in some ways, improved the system to where they can't really, as long as you pay something on a medical bill, they can't really come after you. But at the same time, there's just so much of it that I think they just end up writing off. Or if they don't, it ends up just hanging over people's head. Imagine a Pokemon that could only use Leer. At least they'd always be watching. That could be good or bad, depending on what it is they're watching.
my opinion. So that's huge. Your health is looked after in that you could go to the gym, in that getting your teeth looked after is affordable, in that the food that you have access to is high quality. Let's not even get into, otherwise I'll turn it into some huge video, the sort of food standards that they have in Japan, where just do a quick Google, do a quick look. How many food substances, like processed elements, are allowed into North American food supply that are completely forbidden in Japan? They just won't even allow it because they're so obviously toxic, and they've been illegal to put into the food supply for years and years.
You would definitely
So that's
eat
a big
better quality.
That's another
food
thing
over
I
in
have
Japan.
to consider as well. I care about this. Now let's go into another one. This is kind of
I will say this. The one thing that you absolutely cannot count on in America is eggs that are so fresh that they have orange yolks. Most of the time, the ones you pick up in grocery stores are going to be yellow yolks. Orange is actually the norm, and typically you can only get that in America if they are indeed farm fresh eggs. Other parts of the world, though, quite common to be able to find fresh eggs with orange yolks.
interesting how it plays out in your day to day, but I have a really good example for it, and it's safety. So,
Yes.
well, how does safety have anything to do with your living expenses and being poor or rich? Well, I can say
Because it can make things quite expensive to try and keep yourself safe. I don't know if any of you have priced out a firearm, for example. Those of you who are still here from Leaflet's stream, she has previously, actually even today, shown off her two parts of her firearms collection. And I believe has done some handcam streams before where she's cleaning pistols. And I'm sure even she will attest that they are quite expensive. I mean, even a decent quality pistol in America will run you about anywhere on the low end of about $750 US to, what's the going rate for 1911? Something like $1,400, $1,500. And I think those rifles that she has in her collection, those are well over $2,000, maybe even more. That's a lot of money. For people, that's about a month's. For some people, that's a month's wages, or that's about a month's rent, or at least their share of rent. She's so obsessed with guns it made her gay for anime women. I'll not explain why. I mean, guns are pretty cool. Guns are pretty cool. Which reminds me, I do need to get back to a range at some point and sharpen up my skills. It's been quite a while. Too long, in fact. But as far as anime women go, I mean, what's not to love about them? The men love them, and the women are gay for them. The anime women, they're just perfection.
Tell you. So if you're in a really safe place, that means that you're not going to have that crime costing you money. So I have a really good friend.
And there's another, that brings up another good point, Sharp. In other parts of the world, that sort of safety and relative quiet is something quite often you can only find in the more posh, upper-class neighborhoods. There are still some middle-class and even working-class neighborhoods where that can still be had, but quite often you have to pay a premium for that in the form of a more expensive home. There's HOA, dues every month or every year, or whenever they build that sort of thing. It honestly reminds me of the tweet where it seems like for so long, especially in places like the United States, and even to some extent in the UK and certain European countries, there's just a long history of the rich being able to pay ever higher premiums to shelter themselves in safer enclaves. I think it was something about Costco. I'm looking for it right now. No, I can't find it. Well, anyways. Yeah, I think it had something to do with Costco memberships, and people mainly just getting Costco memberships to not have to deal with some of the more undesirable elements of society at normal grocery stores. They can go into a Costco and have a relatively peaceful experience. I mean, I still find the crowds in many Costcos to be quite maddening, especially certain times of the day and certain days of the week. But overall, still an orderly experience, and still far more preferable to grocery store in a bad part of town. We'll just put it that way.
Who lives in Seattle, and he just talks about how insanely careful you have to be with your car, because
Jesus,
if you've left any valuables out, if you've made the mistake of leaving, whether it's a camera or a phone or a computer, that the chances that you're going to open up your car, or sorry, not open up your car, the chances that you're going to see your car busted into and that thing stolen from you is very high. Whereas I gotta tell you, it's not going to be an issue in Japan.
No, it
like
won't.
I've often joked,
because they are still a mostly homogenous society where they just don't do that sort of thing. And if someone does try something like that, they will be very quickly found out, and it will be dealt with. God help you if you tried something like that in Singapore.
People leave $1,000 cameras on like the Tokyo subway, and then that is turned in. That is not stolen. I joke in Japan that if you had like left your car unlocked, that you run the risk of somebody breaking in and cleaning it. So that safety element, it's great in the first place, because you're not going to get in some weird fight. You're not going to get injured. You're not going to have the financial loss of something being stolen from you. But then it means money in the long run, because these things cost us each time they happen. You got to replace a computer. You got to fix your car window. You got to do, X, Y, and Z. That safety really matters. So, yeah, you're a little poor.
It's just, in a way, it's not just saving you money, but it's also giving you peace of mind. And that's something in many ways you just can't put a price on. We can have that sort of thing in Western countries again, but there is a heavy price to be paid. And we are only just now getting to the outer edges of that conversation on just what we must do to pay that price. We can have it again, but there is a price to be paid. And there's still a lot of people out there that are not prepared to pay that price because they are more concerned with appearances and how others perceive them, and they're still afraid of being called naughty names.
Yeah, you're not going to have cash stacking up. You are going to be in a stagnant wage, but as I say, for health, for your food, for your gym, for your rent, for your internet, forget it, for your phone, the cost of monthly phone plans here, you can get like unlimited data for less than $30 a month. So I think,
fantastic.
In conclusion,
I can't even get that with my mobile plan. And I've got a fairly decent provider and data plan. I think the two biggest ones in America right now are AT&T and T-Mobile. And yeah, I think in most cases you're not getting out the door with an unlimited talk and data plan for anything less than, say, like $75, $80 at least. So compared to that, what's offered in Japan that's a bargain.
What I'd say is I don't want to make it all utopic. It's absolutely not that.
No.
There's many elements. You could argue that you wouldn't personally prefer to living in Japan as compared to North America.
Now, the shoe would be on the other foot. People like us would be the strangers. We would be the ones oftentimes looked upon with suspicion. And at most, the best we could hope for is to be treated like a VIP hotel guest, which in many ways has its advantages. I don't mind being treated like a VIP hotel guest. I sometimes think of myself as a VIP hotel guest, even if I'm staying at just your standard garden variety motor inn. But they will never really think of you in terms of one of us. So that's something to bear in mind, especially if you plan to live someplace like Japan for a long term.
And you could look, maybe I could look at it this way, is that if what you were looking for is a kind of stability, but you can accept the fact that you're not going to be stacking up cash, then somewhere like Japan is really good, but you need to be at peace with the fact that that cash-rich building up for some huge amount of money, for that flex, for that travel, it's not going to happen here. But if you wanted that, you could live in North America. If you want to chase the Lambo, but then while chasing those things, you're going to have to put up with all these other things that destabilize your life. So it's just a different kind of ambition. There's ambition that needs stability, and then there's ambition that doesn't require that so much. Like, even talk about housing loans. If you can become a PR, permanent resident of Japan, how affordable and insane their bank loans are for houses are ridiculous. They're like less than 1% in some certain...
Yeah, they're still practically giving away mortgages for a song. And there are still homes that can be had for very, very reasonable prices compared to what you would find anywhere else in the world, in the Western world. I mean, you take home prices in the United States, the idea of spending $250,000 and getting yourself a nice starter home, that doesn't exist anymore. You now have to spend upwards of $300,000 or more in some parts of the US. $500,000, $600,000 easily if you're up in Canada. And it's a similar story over in the UK and in many parts of Europe. Whereas in Japan, they've got Akia that can be had for as little as a few grand, maybe less. Or you can have, like, this structure on the left of your screen. This is looks to be a fairly brand new home. or at least one that's in decent nick. Homes like these, well, it's not uncommon to still find new homes being built for about $200,000 to $250,000, maybe even less. And we're talking about fairly decently sized homes, 3, 4, even 5 bedroom homes, possibly even room outside to park a car, or 2 cars, sometimes even 3 cars. And yeah, the mortgages are just, the terms on them are fantastic, but you have to have citizenship or you have to have permanent residency. And that can be difficult to qualify for, even now, and probably is only going to become more difficult to qualify for with the new government in place.
Circumstances. So housing can even be crazy affordable once you get to that level. Didn't even really think to touch on that in the video, but it's significant.
I've got another
So one
tab
more
for
reason that
chat.
it's good to be where it seems like you're poor, you're not so poor, because you can get these incredible loans. And then if you haven't noticed as I walk around here, they make these kind of prefab homes that they are not built to last. I call them like Lego houses. But who cares? You live in them. The land is the thing that's more valuable. They're very, very cheap to build, and you get a house. And
that's always been the thing in Japan. The land itself is what holds the real value. Whereas you go to other places like the US and Canada, where so much of the value is in the building itself. Hence why a lot of houses, even new construction in Japan, they do look like they're just made out of building blocks, practically.
to be able to build the house, you can get a loan that isn't going to destroy you. You're not going to have a 50-year mortgage. You're going to get something far more reasonable that's not going to kill you with the amount of, what would you say, interest that you're going to have to pay on that. But to wrap it up, as I said, a couple minutes ago, just to acknowledge that if you wanted to live that faster paced, stack cash, go for the Lambo, yeah, I think there's a good argument for having the much more competitive salary that you would find in North America, like hands down. And in fact, you are somewhat landlocked in some ways if you accept this lifestyle in Japan, because your money is worth so much less when you go abroad. So it's like, it's compounded. Not only is it stagnant in Japan, but when you go abroad, you can make your dollar go less far. So you have to be aware of that. But if you're looking for good health, good food, cheaper rent, access to good amenities, good healthcare, then it is hard to go wrong with Japan. So that's one man's opinion. It doesn't have to be right. It's just the perspective that I've learned since being here for a little while.
Experience.
I wonder what your experience is. How much is your rent? Is it reasonable? Do you feel like you're getting ahead, or do you feel like you're falling behind? Which option would be more viable for you? I'm curious. In any event, I hope you're doing all right. Thanks for watching the video. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
That's from Dave Trippin chat. That's a good one. Give that a like. Might even we'll go ahead and subscribe too. I think he's got some good content. My Japanese aunt raised me while my parents were doing college. They got me at 2 years old to use a Razor scooter. Evidently to me, they probably have very good kindergartens there. Good education all around in Japan, I would say. Still haven't quite figured out the proper way to teach young people English and have them retain it. But, still plenty of opportunities. If you want to go over to Japan, the easiest way to do that is start as an English teacher. Just get your TEFL certificate and find a job over there and how about it?